we'll talk a little bit about the registration process. So every semester, departments, all of our different academic departments, determine which courses they need to offer to ensure that the students in those majors make progress towards completing their degree. They submit these courses to the registrar's office, and the registrar's office then builds the course schedule for that semester. Once the schedule is released, students can use it to find the classes that they would like or need to take. Students can look the classes up by subject. They can look it up by Global Miami Plan if they are students who started before this fall, or by Miami Plan for students who started this fall. The course list I've provided the link for is the easiest way to see courses when you're looking them up by those attributes of Global Miami Plan or Miami Plan, because in the actual banner schedule, which is another way to look at them, students need to know the names of the courses that they're looking for in order to find them. So if your student is really sort of trying to decide among a bunch of different options, the course list is a really great way to look up courses. You can also look up individual courses on the course list. So that is how we encourage students to start, is by taking a look at the course list and thinking about what their different options are. Time tickets are assigned to students based on the number of credit hours that they have completed. We do this because the more credits a student has completed, the more likely it is that they'll need a specific course or at a specific time, and they'll need the largest number of options available for those specific things. We also do offer priority registration for some populations of students, such as students who are registered with the Miller Center for Disability Services or athletes, for example. These populations may need very specific sections of courses, or they have schedule obligations that limit their course choices. So they register before the first credit hour based time tickets open. The most important thing for students to remember about their registration time tickets, there are two things, is number one, to make sure that they know when their time ticket opens. So make sure that they're really clear about what time that's going to be, and so that they're ready. And number two, to remember that the best options for course selection are going to be during their registration time ticket. So they should make sure that they are ready to register when their time ticket opens. So before we go into more detail about how students should prepare to register, I want to talk for just a minute about open registration. Open registration starts once all the groups of registration time tickets are complete. During open registration, students can add and drop courses. They can make refinements to their course schedules. One thing to note is that there is a lot of adjusting occurring during open registration. So if your student is not able to get into say a particular section of a course they want, or they change their minds about something, or they realize they're not going to successfully complete the prerequisite for something they've registered for, they should watch courses during open registration to see what opens up. And in a few minutes, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the strategies for doing this. So I think, Joe, we're ready to go to the next slide. We're going to talk for a second here about academic advising and registration. Now, academic advising is so important to students. It's really important that students work with their academic advisor as they're preparing to register for classes. Advisors are key to making sure that students are taking the classes that they need to stay on track to completing their degrees. If your student is a first-year student, they should hear from their advisor about making a registration appointment, advising appointment. The weeks leading up to registration are very busy for academic advisors, as you can imagine, with everybody wanting to come in and talk about their registration. So students should try to get their registration appointments set up with their advisors as soon as possible. If your student is planning to change their major or double major, they'll also need appointments with advisors from both of the departments, the one that they're changing from and to, or if they're going to double major, they will need to meet with both of those advisors. So they need to really get on the stick and get those advising appointments made. There is a lot of information to cover in a registration advising appointment. So your student can do a few things to make this appointment much more productive if they come prepared with the following. The first is their degree audit report. And I've got on this slide the website for where students can go to look up their degree audit report. So if you want to take a photo of that and send it to your student, that would be great. The degree audit report basically tells them, based on their major, what they need to take to finish their degree. And it's a great first place to check and think about what requirements they're going to be thinking about filling for that degree program in the spring semester. Next thing is the registration worksheet that we provided in the new student guidebook, which is available online. And the link is here again on the slide for that. And they should have that completed and ready to discuss. There are a number of different questions on there about courses that they might be interested in. Are they going to minor? What other kinds of things are they doing? What timeframes are helpful for them? So if they can sit down and spend some time working on that registration worksheet, that will really help their academic advising appointment go smoothly. Lastly, they should check their account to see if they have any registration holds. The One Stop website is the place to go for instructions on how to check and resolve any holds on their account. Students with holds will also get reminders from the Student Success Center, reminding them to take care of those holds prior to registration. We want to avoid any students who are getting on the website online to do their registration and their time ticket, and then find out that they have registration holds and they can't register, and then they end up having to wait until open registration to register. So make sure your student knows to check for holds and ensure that those are completely resolved before their registration time ticket opens up. Another support that we offer for first-year students only is registration breakfasts. Registration breakfasts take place in the residence halls on the morning of the first-year student's registration time ticket. Now, it is important to note, if your first-year student has a lot of transfer credits from AP or AP credits or transfer credits, they may actually have an earlier time ticket than these registration breakfasts are happening. So they should check and make sure that the registration breakfast is something that will help them with their particular time ticket. But it is only one day. It's the day when most of the first-year students are registering. There at the registration breakfast, which takes place in their residence hall, we have RAs, academic advisors, and other support folks available to help students with the process of logging into the registration system and entering their courses. This was a new initiative that we started last year. It was super helpful for these students to have people around to assist if needed. So if your student is a new student, have them watch for information about those breakfasts in their residence halls. We're going to talk a little bit now about registering for courses once the student's time ticket is open. So first of all, as I mentioned earlier, students should make every effort to be online and ready when their time ticket opens. Many departments use a seat release system. So seats that are in high demand courses are released during each day of time ticketed registration. That means that the highest number of seats will be available at the beginning of the day's registration period. And that's one of the reasons it's important for your student to be ready to register when their time ticket opens. Second, it is really, really important that the students have created an ideal schedule and that they have several backup plans available, a variety of courses, days, and times. Given the number of courses that we need to offer to keep all of our students moving forward with their degrees, it's just not possible for us to offer everything between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. on Monday through Thursday. So some students will need to be taking classes early and late in the day and every day of the week. So we want you to help your student remember that they should have alternative schedules built that include times of day that are less popular for students to take classes, like the mornings and the late afternoons. If students make these plans and include the course registration number or the CRN for each course that they're interested in taking, that will facilitate entering the courses into the registration system and allow students to quickly see whether they have successfully registered for the courses that they've selected. If students are struggling with getting online or have questions during the registration process, the One Stop will have people available by phone to talk with them. But remember that the One Stop is not academic advising. They won't be able to suggest courses for students or give advice on whether courses will count for specific requirements. They're really there to help mostly with sort of technical difficulties. All right. Now, I'd like to shift gears with the next slide and talk for a few minutes about how you can be helpful in getting your student ready for this registration process. So first and foremost, please encourage your student to plan ahead. Again, they should make their registration appointment with their academic advisor as soon as possible, and they should go to that appointment prepared with the items that I discussed above. Secondly, please encourage your student to be open to early and late class times and to create some backup plans for registration day. The better prepared students are, the more options they will have to get into courses that will help them stay on track to their degree. Be encouraging if your student doesn't get into all the classes on their ideal schedule. Remember, college is meant to be a time of exploration and learning new things, and often the classes that they hadn't planned to take end up being a great experience. The key to this is to have an open mind. If your student seems unhappy about their schedule or ends up not having a full schedule, you can encourage them to check in again with their academic advisor. Often when students struggle with registration, they just haven't considered the many, many options that they could for possible courses. There are so many choices at Miami, and we really encourage students to go into this process with an open mind to taking advantage of some that they might not have thought about before. Next, while the time ticket provides the most registration options for your student, open registration will be available from November 20th to the first day of classes in January. So there's plenty of time to make adjustments to their schedules. Meeting with their advisor helps ensure that students enroll in the classes they need. But you need to remember that advisors are probably not going to be able to get them into full classes. They're not magicians. They are amazing people, but they do have some limitations. They will, however, work with students to find classes that fill requirements and fit with the other classes that they've registered for. So there's not any need to panic if they don't have a full schedule at the end of the registration period, because they can work with their advisor over the next month or so to find the things that will fill the holes that they have. Next, when students are unhappy about their schedules, it might be tempting to call the provost's office or the president. This does happen a fair amount. But really, this only delays getting assistance for your student, because when someone calls me, I can't answer the questions about the classes. I don't know what classes count for which requirements, and I ultimately end up sending the student to their academic advisors. So the first place for students to start is with the academic advisor. There will also be students who will be needing appointments with the advisors. So students should not panic if they don't get in to see their advisor right away. It is not going to set them up for failure if they don't get in there in the first couple of days of open registration. There's plenty of time to get these adjustments made to their schedule, because there's so much shifting that is taking place during open registration. The last item that I would like to talk about, you can switch the slides, Joe, is the banner waitlisting and registration requests, registration override requests. So some courses do have waitlisting set up in Banner so that if the class is full, it will ask the student if they'd like to be on the wait list. Banner waitlisting is a feature that allows students to get in line for a spot in a class that is full. So when the seat becomes available, Banner will automatically contact the first student on the wait list to be added to the course. If another seat becomes available, the second student is contacted, and so forth. Departments do use waitlist information to determine if they might need to add additional sections of the class. So it's definitely wise for students to get on a waitlist if they can, if that's an option for the class that they're enrolling in. If they are far down on the wait list, it's probably likely that they're not going to get into the class unless another section is open, in which case they need to make sure that they find a backup for that class and have that ready in their schedule. Registration override requests, or what we call RORs here, or RORs, are another way for students to attempt to enroll in courses that are full. Instructions for RORs are on the One Stop website. And that is the same website for the waitlisting and the RORs. RORs are different from waitlists in that they are not automatic. What happens with the ROR is that a representative from each division reviews all the RORs that are submitted to determine which students need to get into the classes the most. So, for example, a senior trying to get in a course they need for graduation will be given priority over a second-year student who's trying to get a course at 10 in the morning instead of the open section at 8:30 in the morning. Because this is a detailed process, RORs are not approved immediately, so students may need to wait to know if they're going to be enrolled in the course. In most cases, instructors have no bearing on the ROR process, so students should not reach out to them about RORs. Also, as with the waitlist, students who think they'd like to try to get into a particular course section through a ROR should make sure that they have an alternative course in their schedule as a backup in case their ROR is not approved. If the ROR goes through, they can drop the least preferred section option and keep the preferred option. From time to time, this is really true, we come across students who don't actually register for anything during their time ticket. They just ROR all of their courses. This is very risky because a student may not get into any of those courses, and the options that are available do decrease over time. So please encourage your students to only use the ROR if it is absolutely necessary that they get a certain class, or if the open section of a course they need conflicts with other course times on their schedule that they cannot move. Students are encouraged to indicate that they will accept any section that will fit with their schedule when they submit their RORs, which will maximize their ROR options. All right, next slide. Last thing is practice makes perfect. So the One Stop website has a number of really awesome registration videos that show all of these processes and how the students will click on all the different buttons in Banner and enter the CRNs and how the registration process works. And I really encourage you to share this website with your student and suggest to them that they take a look at these videos. They're all very, very short. They're super clear. They're actually amazing tools that can help them get ready for and actually do their registration process when that time comes. All right. I hope that you found this information helpful and that you feel more ready to support your student through course registration.